Thank you. Thank you for having me. And hi, everyone. Thank you for spending time with me on the day before Halloween. It is such an opportunity to be here today. I'm April Somboun. I'm a Lao American refugee and immigrant. I reside here in Brooklyn Heights and have two kids ages 5 and 3. By day, I'm a marketing consultant and strategist working with nonprofits and private companies, and I'm a mom all day. Also, I'm running to become the next and first woman to win City Council for District 33. First off, I want to take the time to acknowledge the strength of our city and our fellow Americans across the US who are standing up for what's right. I would like to acknowledge what's happening right now in our country and that I am in full support of the Black Lives Matter movement and will always be. With everything going on in the world today and the stresses of the current presidential election compounded by the pandemic, I'm even more motivated to ensure our fellow neighbors and you and those who are being hit the hardest are taken care of and not forgotten. I want to ensure that everyone has access to information that is true and that is theirs. And with truth comes power, which can lead to action. So with that being said, like I said, I'm here to share with you how the power of information can lead us to seek ways we can take action and create change at a local, national, international level. Today, we all have so much information. We can access it via our smartphone, our desktop, you name it. And it's to the point where we can get overwhelmed and just don't know what to do with it. But please don't let the information overload deter you. A lot of the information that is public is ours. It can empower us by informing us about how we vote, giving us information to understand our rights, find ways to volunteer and make a difference locally, exposing corruption at the government and corporation or any type of organization, and to speak out against injustice. Using our rights to demand the disclosure of information held by the state is vital if communities and individuals are to understand and challenge the actions that are affecting their lives. When gathering information, I recommend that the first thing you must consider is which government entity has the information you are looking for. Most likely what you are looking for is either at the city, state, or federal level and is located on multiple pages throughout the internet. With a little bit of Googling and reading, you will mostly likely find the information you are looking for. It may not be easily digestible, but it's there because it's public and it belongs to you. So I want you to take a moment to imagine, or some of you may be able to relate, to think about what it's like to be a part of a poor family and or an immigrant trying to survive and thrive. Imagine if English is your second language. Imagine being a little girl at the age of 7, having to take on the burden of being a translator for your grandmother at her doctor's appointment because her grandmother didn't know that she had access to information to be able to find a translator or to be able to get content that was translated in her language. That little girl was me. I translated for my grandmother at her doctor's appointments. I filled out her forms. I was her source of information. And this is pre-internet, so I'm really dating myself. And if my grandmother knew that she had access to information that was hers and resources that would be able to help her at her doctor's visit, I don't think I would have been in that room. The information that she would have had access to and has access to today is her human right, and it's your human right. And I think my grandmother would have been way better off with a professional translator and not from a 7, 8-year-old. So my mom, you're probably thinking, where was your mom in all of this? Well, my mom was working, right? Day in and day out. And she knew I had to do this. And I knew I had to do it. So after I left home for college, my mom took action into her own hands. She gathered all the information, went to the social services website, and looked for ways of how she could become a translator in her local community. And there was a lot of red tape, a lot of forms that she had to fill out, and it was, hard for someone whose English is a second language, but she made it. She saw the problem, and she solved it by finding information to get her to become a local translator on her own time. And she's still doing it till this day. But now I want to bring you back to where we are today and what we're currently seeing before our eyes, because we're witnessing it in person or via the news or via our friends' social media posts. I mean, the power of social media and how you can take action, and it opens up so much information that it's just everywhere and you can't miss it, from TikTok to Facebook to Twitter. It's just a lot, but there's so much you can find other than just on the government websites. And so I want to share a couple of examples of how I've taken action to find information that is public to us. So since I live in New York City, I'm going to describe some of the things happening in New York City. New York City, as we all know, is dense, 8 million plus people. And when trash is not collected and there's litter everywhere, it's noticeable. In New York City, we are going through a fiscal crisis that has been brought on by the pandemic, and the city had to make an $84 million cut to the Parks Department. That's a seventh of the department's total budget. Maintenance hours were shaved by 25,000 hours per week too. So crews were able to attend to 400 fewer sites each week. I'm spouting all the budget facts because what I just stated is available on New York City's government website, and it's public. And it's public information that we are privy to. Every budget you want to know about the city, you should be able to review, to see the breakdown and see where the allocation of your tax dollars are going. And also, I tell you this because I wanted to better understand firsthand where my city dollars were going and what was the root cause. So while we're not getting the federal stimulus and the garbage is not being picked up, or the street sweepers are being eliminated, or only a few times a week, the facts inspired me to take action. So I joined the One Block Brooklyn, a community that was created by an individual or groups of individuals to get people to adopt their local blocks and pick up garbage. So now I am walking along my block with those trash picker upper and picking up the garbage just to be able to help and to ensure that our city or our neighborhood is livable. Another topic I wanted to understand was, why are there currently 1.5 million people who cannot afford food today? Which drove me to look up the unemployment rate. And then I started getting into more and more details about the demographics of who's being hit the hardest within my community. And I quickly learned that unemployment in the city is at an all-time high of 20%. And the last thing we want is to really get into a recession and be back in the 70s or 80s of New York City. These numbers are staggering. So what do you do with these type of numbers that you find online? I took action and looked at how the city works with nonprofits and food banks to make sure people knew that they had access to food banks. And I started disseminating that information. Also, I found a list of orgs in my neighborhood who were food bank distributors and called them up to see where the need was. And I found a local church here who, bless their hearts, they are a food distributor and they distribute to almost 200 individuals, mainly senior citizens. And they had one volunteer who was bagging all the food by herself the day before. And so now it's just Jane, who's like a grandmother, or who is a grandmother, and myself, and I always bring a +1 to help bag the food to ensure that it's ready for tomorrow's to hand out at the food bank or at the church. And people literally wait in line an hour, 2 hours beforehand to get the food. So the demand is high, and and no one should ever be going hungry, especially today. Also, something that we hear a lot about, and it's still, a big topic, is defunding the police. What I like to think about it is reimagining or rebudgeting the police. You are privy to the NYPD or your local police budget. That is your right. You can review it, question why your local police department went over budget in regards to overtime work, salaries, headcount, cost of building, capital, administrative, and more. The data that I found with a few searches, clicking on my keyboard and landing on the city and state's website is our information, and I can't express that enough. And it's powerful. So if you care about your community, don't be afraid to ask the hard questions and get the information and look at the raw data and follow up on the statements made by your elected officials. They work for you. Your taxpayers are going to them. We need to hold people accountable. And I ask of you, when you see something that doesn't look right, go to your government's website and seek out the facts and make informed opinions and choices. When we access information that is ours, the knowledge gain opens doors. It provides the opportunity to educate ourselves, others, and helps us become agents of change within our community. Thank you.